Hey there, Curvis! Welcome to the 78th episode of the Curve the Cube podcast, episode number 78! It's pretty exciting to be here with you. And my very special guest today, Jamie Scott Harris. Now, Jamie and I met when I was, my friend Viv, my son, her two doggies, were checking out a park one day, and he was sitting there doing some kind of meditation, and I was very curious. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he explained it to me, and I thought, wow, I was meant to meet Jamie, because a lot of his philosophies about life and about how he guides his life and how he teaches others is very similar to what the message that I'm trying to put out there with this podcast. So through his yoga, through his mentorships, through his music, he delivers a very, very powerful message to those he meets about finding and living your authentic self, sloughing off that which burdens you and is not working for you, and finding something that you're passionate about. And that might sound very familiar to the themes that you've heard many times before on Curve the Cube. And so we talk a lot about that, and we bounce back and forth, and he even evolved my thinking during this podcast, and it was really, really great talking to him. He talks about focusing your influence not on making materialistic choices that worry about your image, for example, but focus your influence on outward things and the people around you, and remove those blinders and strike up conversations and make real human connections. You know, get your face out of your iPhone every once in a while. I'm super guilty of it, but he talks about how important it is to center ourselves and then think outwardly. And I really enjoyed talking to him. He has a focus on he encourages people to don't focus on me, focus on we. And I love when he gets into that. He's from New York, where he did pursue his yoga dreams and had a really thriving matter of success up there. And when he came down to Florida, he hit some roadblocks, and it was really interesting to see how he transformed his outlook and pursued on, and is now doing something even bigger toward his dreams. So it's really, really great. Really love talking to him. He gets into the my life, my power, and gratitude training, which he talks about on here. And he basically helps kids from all walks of life open up their minds to their true potentials, and he's really doing some transformative things in the community, and I really, really enjoy talking to him a lot. He gives us all a super amazing musical treat at the end that you're really going to enjoy. It was wonderful watching it live. He's very passionate and just super sweet and lovely. Go to mylifemypower.org or gratitudetraining.com to hear about how he is influencing others. You can also visit his website, Jamie Scott Yoga, or find him on Instagram at Jamie Scott Yoga. It's not yogurt. Jamie Scott Yoga. Really easy when I don't mess it up. Anyways, he's lovely, and you'll find him lovely too. I sure believe so. This episode of Curve the Cube is sponsored by Big Brain 2, No Hard Feelings Tattoo Shop, owned by my buddy Chris Blinston. Chris and I have known each other for a very, very, very long time. He is fantastic. He's been a friend in some really amazing ways, and he's just a really super sweet person, and he's a really super sweet tattoo artist. We're talking about like multiple best in shows, and not only that, but he also was the runner-up in season 6 of Ink Master. I think they're on season 7 right now, so it was real recent. Season 6 of Ink Master, and he was fantastic, and he's also my guest on episode 31, so rewind and go check that out. Also go visit No Hard Feelings Tattoo Shop, and if you mention the podcast, you get 10% off. So yeah, he only hires the best and only does the best tattoos. So if you want something permanent on your body forever, no erasers can take care of this. You can only remove them with very huge amounts of pain. So do it with something you won't regret. Get a really good tattoo from someone who knows what they're doing. Visit Chris Blinston. Look him up. Anyways, thank you to DJ Don Hitta for my music bed. Yay! And as always, follow Curve the Cube and all of the interwebs. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, Tumblr, WordPress. WordPress is new, but it's poppin'. Let's go check us out on WordPress. With that, I'll say sit back and relax and enjoy the 78th episode of the Curve the Cube podcast with Jamie Scott Harris, philosopher and musician extraordinaire. Bye. Curve the Cube will now initiate. Hey, Jamie.
Hi.
How's it going?
How are you?
Good to see ya.
Good to see you as well.
I forgot your dog's name again. Hi.
This is Zeus.
Zeus. How could I knew it was like a powerful name. I just
Yeah.
couldn't think of it. How you doing, Zeus? Zeus is a good boy. Is a good boy. How you doing?
He got a little beat up last time we were here.
Oh no, what happened from the other dogs?
Yeah.
Oh no.
He thinks he's the mayor, and other dogs also think they're the mayor.
Right, that whole doggy dominance thing.
Totally.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's jump into this.
Sure.
I found your website very interesting.
Which one?
Oh, there's more? I think I just found maybe I just found the one. Maybe I didn't find the one. The one that talks about, the one that has the video of you in getting your haircut.
Oh yeah.
That one.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
That's kind of like the yoga career website.
Yeah.
And the yoga career has begun to bow out gracefully.
Really?
And at first it wasn't by choice, but
Okay.
then I realized that everything is by choice.
Mhm.
And I've been choosing off of the fitness and yoga industry for a while because for all of the beautiful people and loving support that I've received there, there's more to it than tuning up your body to align with something greater than yourself.
Mhm.
Obviously, I love fitness, I love yoga, I love teaching, and I will continue to teach in substitute roles or in different settings other than the typical yoga studio gig. But I moved down here to Florida from New York and auditioned at several different places and couldn't get hired, even though I have 8+ years experience.
Really?
And I know I'm a good teacher, and I know that what I teach is impactful.
Yeah.
But it seems that my desire to make an impact beyond the physical is overwhelming to the point where the universe said, go do something else. And My Life, My Power showed up, and it's exactly what I've been seeking. I just didn't know what it would look like. I didn't understand how to structure this thing that's going to transform education and healthcare and government policy and the way that communities are established and maintained. And of course fitness is involved in all of that. So I get to teach my monkey move type yoga in a powerful setting that really has people looking at not only their circumstances but how they chose those circumstances.
Yeah, because when Viv and I first came upon you here in the park, were you meditating? You were looked like you were in some sort of meditative state.
Like me.
Yeah? Yeah, you were sitting there, and we almost kind of didn't want to disturb you. We were very curious. Viv's curiosity always gets the best of her. She had to ask. I thought that was interesting. Do you still practice your yoga and everything? Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's more just like a personal thing.
It's always been a personal thing. That's kind of, to me, there's a beauty in the personal and the closing off the rest of the world for a period of time and really looking inward, and that's really what all of the work is looking inward. And we are able to look inward in a much more dynamic way through relationship. Yeah. So I'll ask a group of high school kids, if someone gives you feedback, they tell you that you're a mean guy, one person says it, okay? Maybe they're a mean person and they're projecting on you. If 2 people say it, then what? If 10 people say it, is it time to look? Right. So feedback is maybe the most important thing that we can have in terms of if I'm going to be doing practices to better myself, I better start asking people around me how I show up in the world. Right. Because I think I'm the nicest guy in the world, peaceful and loving and whatever. Right. But then my sister will tell me I'm not, or my partner will tell me I'm not. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not?
What does your daughter say? Come on, tell me the truth.
Yeah, God, right? Yeah. She loves me.
So, I think it is definitely a good practice to get the feedback and always kind of be available and open to assessing yourself and having others assess you. And I think it's also good practice to know, to be able to filter those feedbacks, not through your own your own issues or what have you, but maybe understanding that sometimes people aren't coming from the best place, like you were kind of, like you touched on. Sometimes someone, I don't remember who it was, but was talking the other day about a YouTube channel, their YouTube channel, and they're like, I take the super amazing supportive comments, and then I take the super amazing you're an asshole comments and just shut those out, and then look at everything kind of in the center lanes, because those are probably a lot less void of other people's emotions. And I think the same can be said when you're opening yourself to getting feedback. Sometimes someone's just really having a bad day, or they're themselves just not.
And then, of course, there are means to clearing that stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think clearings are apologies, and that is a form of a clearing.
Totally.
Or clearing, a lot of people think, is me spewing all my garbage on you, like you did this to me
like I'm a
20
therapist.
years ago, and you did that 19 years ago, and you did this 18 years ago.
Right.
But ultimately, what I think it boils down to, and I'm not a sage, but I'm working on it, is that we have an experience, a fact, something happens, right? And then from that fact, interpretations start to flow on both sides, right?
Right.
Let's say I take advantage of you in some way.
Right.
I start making up that I am better than you, I can take advantage of you when I want,
or maybe that I was giving consent or making things okay, and you're justifying it in some way.
And then the stories you make up, or I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm underneath, whatever. And nobody's right. Yeah. And I don't think anybody in their heart means to dominate another person, but because of parental experiences, my uncle took advantage of me, or all the stuff that happens, especially in childhood, we all go through the rest of our lives hoping for the approval of that one person. And we go around trying to get it from everybody else by being overwhelmingly egoic, right? Grasping on to power or money or food or drugs or whatever.
Or in the opposite vein, putting yourself into a very vulnerable situation. Exactly. Yeah. It's funny. Not usually, but sometimes at the end of these podcasts, I've had a couple of people say, "Oh my gosh, that was like therapy. I feel like this turned into therapy for me." This is great. So have you always had this philosophy? Was there an experience? Was there a time in your life where this kind of started to evolve and come up?
I think it's always been evolving.
Yeah.
It's probably best to go backwards.
Yeah.
I've been with My Life, My Power for give or take a year. Daniel Puder is a really true visionary leader, and it's been so amazing being in his space, because he treats every single person he meets, from literally the president, senators, congresspeople, to the guy on the corner of the on-ramp at 95 begging for money, as if they are the person who's going to have his vision come true. So that has really invited me to elevate my game and to look at, where do I stop? Where do I brush people off? Where do I stop caring or stop, showing up? So that's been the last year of really ramping up, being true to my word in terms of my vision. My vision is for a peaceful planet, a peaceful community, and there's plenty of food and plenty of clean water on this planet for everybody to have it. It's just a matter of, why do some people have and some people don't?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So going backwards from that, having a baby
that
a year ago.
You can't help it. It changes you,
amazing. Surrender, total service. Wake up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and okay, how can I be in service?
Yeah.
No hesitation, no blinking of an eye, no resistance. Dropping the resistance has been such a huge thing for me. Like, there's going to be resistance given to me. Am I going to go and push back against it all the time? Or can I flow with it? I don't have to understand everyone and everything. My job in this life is to flow. Yeah. Right? So having a baby, obviously my partner, Nicole, she is a wonderful, powerful, creative, intimate woman who really stands for family and love in a way that I've never been shown before. Both of us come from divorced homes, and like I said, those interpretations come up, and I think as a man, I'll speak for myself, but anyway, I could go for days on this stuff, but we probably have an hour on the podcast.
That's okay.
So as a man, it's like take care of my own, like make sure that I've got mine so that I can go and take care of others, right? And life has a way of dealing you something when you think you're not ready for it, but you definitely are.
What has been the big shift for you mentally since you've had this relationship and your daughter?
It's that love is an action and a choice.
Yeah.
Of course, there are feelings and there's rosy glow and honeymoon type of feeling.
Right.
But that doesn't last forever with anything. I love playing guitar, but it's not like the same as it was when I first learned to play a song.
Right.
There's a different relationship here,
right.
and I have shifted my own expectations of myself and of the instrument. And how do I do that with human beings, right? So being like water, right? Water doesn't, or a tree. A tree doesn't care what season it is. A tree just keeps taking in whatever sun is available and whatever rain is available, and it lives on for as long as it will until someone chops it down.
Doesn't worry about it.
Right. So am I going to resist when someone else isn't at their best and let them know that they're not at their best, specifically my partner, or can I be a stand for her to be her best even when she's not feeling her best? And that becomes a symbiotic choice in our relationship.
That's very nice. I think a lot of people need to learn that lesson.
I still get to learn it.
Well, good. Well, it's like you were saying, you're always evolving. Things are always evolving. How did you get to My Life, My Power? How did that happen?
So there's a amazing program and community called Gratitude. It's based in Pompano actually now. It's been based in West Palm and Lake Worth, but they're shifting the offices down here to Pompano Beach. And it's hands down the most impactful experience I've ever had in my life.
Describe.
It's a 3-part training.
Yeah.
Part 1 is called Discovery, and it's basically an opportunity to lay out all the stuff of your life, all the people, relationships, circumstances, jobs, feelings, love, all the stuff of your life is laid out in front of you through experiential exercises. And it's 4 days and it's amazing, and by the end you're like, oh my God, how did I not see all this?
I have my eye on her.
Hey pumpkin, you got some dirt? Yeah, dirt is fun.
Oh, totally fun. Remember, I'm a mom. I can't help it. I'm like, there's a child in my area. I'm like, there's a part of my
good
brain.
At that walking thing,
yeah, she is. How old is she again?
A year and 3 weeks.
She's awesome. She's so pretty.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, she's so pretty.
So part 2 of Gratitude is called Breakthrough, and it's 5 days. Don't make any other plans when you go. Okay. It's 5 intense, fully packed days.
Is it emotionally intense or?
It's emotionally, physically, mentally. It's called Breakthrough because from part 1 you've laid out all your stuff. Part 2 you take TNT to all the stuff that's not working.
And that's literal. I found. Is it right?
Like, well, there's no explosives,
right?
But you literally ask yourself the question: why do I keep choosing the things that I know are not working for me? For some people, that's alcohol. For some people, it's a toxic relationship. For other people, it's a job they hate. Right. Yeah, why do I keep choosing this, even though I know I'm miserable, I know it's not getting me to where I want to be? Right. And you blow it up. Right. Again, through experiential exercises. In part 2, there's hardly any lectures. It's all driven by the students. And then part 3 is called Masterful Living. It's a 90-day program where you and your team create a new possibility within your community.
How have you grown since becoming involved with that program specifically?
Well, during my Masterful Living program, my mother actually passed away. So...
How long ago was this?
That's 2 years and 4 months ago.
Okay.
And so my experience during the 90-day program is kind of a big blur. I was living in New York. I was traveling down to West Palm Beach to participate and traveling back throughout the 90 days. I came down 5 times in 3 months. Was in the beginning stages.
If you did when you started, you should have done. You had it when you did.
Yeah. So I was also at the beginning of our relationship with Nicole and losing my mom.
Oh, so you met her down here?
Yeah, she's from Jupiter.
Okay.
So during that whole thing, it's hard to really say what happened for me.
Yeah.
A lot of things opened up, a lot of things actually shut down too. I know that I closed some of my heart off after my mom died because I didn't want to feel it. And I'm still inviting myself to reopen and to allow that emotion to really occur. I've lost people before. I think I've grieved, but grieving is such an amorphous thing. There are books about it, but like, is there
It's
a
personal.
process?
No.
Yeah, and I am willing to say I haven't really taken it on in a powerful enough way to really clear the energy.
But you know what? I think, especially when it comes to the loss of a loved one, I think the grieving process never quite ends. People have expressed that thought different ways. I hear someone say that, it was 30 years later and they had a certain smell, or they saw something or heard a song and they just lost it, right? Or someone else will say the pain never goes away, you just learn how to deal with it better, or refocus, or what have you. So, you may find yourself, I don't think you're ever going to stop grieving your mother, it'll probably just be an evolving process as you.
So since moving to Florida, April of 15, I've gone back and been on the staff for Gratitude.
And what do you do for them?
Gosh, how do you describe staffing without telling? Well, it's a perfect question. Okay. So, and the whole, you asked me how did I get involved with My Power. This is all like we're 3 sub questions in.
Right.
I was Daniel's coach in part 1.
Oh, interesting.
So, what do I do? It's mentorship. It's coaching. It's guiding people towards their vision. And so that's really the answer in how have I shifted since becoming a coach with them.
Yeah.
In New York, I was a very successful personal trainer, yoga teacher, had high-end clients, executive CEOs, lawyers, doctors, the whole 9, celebrities, sports athletes, etc. And made a great career out of it and had a great home and, friends and whatever. And looking back, it was all about success. It was about me sort of getting mine and having enough to have the freedom to do whatever I wanted.
Right.
And since moving here and taking on Gratitude from the staff angle and taking on My Life, My Power, it has shifted from me to we. The biggest transition in my life has been a total, or the ability to go into total outward focus, where I can be on the phone with someone who maybe I haven't spoken to in 6 months. And we have friendship, good relationship, but, enough distance to where we won't speak for a while.
Right.
And I can make it all completely about them to the point where they get how much they matter to me. And when people get that they matter, there's no war, there's no famine, there's no racism. People get that they're just people. They can look each other in the eye and communicate their challenges, their fears, their vision, their purpose, what it is we're all doing here, It's interesting. You brought to mind a memory. Have you ever read the book To Kill a Mockingbird? Sure.
So there's this really great scene, a pivotal shift scene, where the guys in the neighborhood, they're all gunning for Boo Radley. They want Boo Radley, who's the town shut-in, right? He's been shut in his house. No one really knows what he's about, right? But he's been been villainized because of it. And so Scout, the little girl, the what do you call the main character? The main character. I can't think of the word. But anyways, protagonist. Thank you. There's this mob of men who are basically, pitchforks without the pitchforks, right? They're ready to go get Boo Radley, and she walks up to them and just one by one starts talking to them, each individual person. And it just completely disbands them because they're no longer in that mama mentality. They're brought back to their individuality. Yes. And it totally disbands them. And when you're talking, it made me think about that, because here are guys who are ready to have Boo Radley's head, and all it took was this little girl talking to them one-on-one, looking them in the eyes, and it all changed. It's interesting.
So you should see what happens when Daniel and I and several of our other trainers and coaches go into some of the roughest neighborhoods and high schools in Miami-Dade. Booker T, Miami-Jackson, Miami Northwest. Some of these places, they call some of them war zones. Yeah. And kids come in and they're totally disengaged from each other. They don't want to hear from us. They don't want to look at each other at all. and within 90 minutes we can have some of them in tears
Aww.
because they get that they're all the same.
Yeah.
They all have the same fears, the same challenges. Half of them don't have their father around.
Yeah.
The other half, parents are on drugs.
Right.
And it sucks, and I feel for them. And they are circumstances that I can only surface relate to.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can relate to is, so what? Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got parents who are this, and community that's that, and circumstances that are this.
Right.
What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Is if you can't communicate what you want, you can't change any of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get out of it. You can't create something new. You can't start a revolution in your home,
Mm-hmm.
let alone in this country or the world. We're overdue for a shift because the way we're going isn't working.
No.
And we have the
Yeah.
same number or more foster kids than we ever had.
Mm-hmm.
We have more people in prison. We got more debt. We got
Mm-hmm.
more opiate addiction, all these things, and yet we have billions and billions of dollars in support, in help, in donation,
Right.
in financial aid. And how is it being used?
There's a disconnect.
There's something is missing,
Right.
and what is it?
Can I ask you, when you pose this kind of a question to a classroom of kids, do you ever find that they're too afraid to want?
Yeah.
That every experience of their life has been so hurtful that even at the slightest thing, even, daring to go into the living room and ask their mom for something and then they get yelled at, or they ask their dad and they get beaten, or whatever it is, that they're just too afraid to want.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you've seen?
So it's a great question to highlight really the difference between gratitude and My Life, My Power.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude is driven by enrollment. Like I could tell you about it and you could say, oh, I want to do that, and you go.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas My Life, My Power, we go to a superintendent or a governor or a principal and we say, we want to bring this to your school, and they say, okay, and the kids walk in and not all of them are enrolled.
Gotcha.
So what the hope is, and what ends up happening is, let's say you've got a room of 30 kids. 8 of them participate like gung-ho.
Right.
8 of them go for it a little bit, and the rest of them don't want to. But by the end, the ones who don't want to, they start to open up a little bit. So let's say that there are 6 kids left who really didn't go for it at all.
Yeah.
The kids who went for it start to realize how impactful they are every single day of the school year, and they start to energetically interrupt the fear of all the other kids, right? So it's not a perfect science. It's not like, we met with a psychologist from Florida International the other day, and he looked at our evidence-based programming, all of our data, and he's like, this is great, but what about this variable and that variable and this variable? I'm like, dude, it might rain tomorrow, and then there are gonna be less bullies, there are gonna be less drug dealers out on the street.
Right.
I can't account for every variable in the world.
Right,
you have to take all data with a grain of salt and just look and show up and see what happens with these kids when they get how powerful they are. If one of them gets it, like no BS, they get it, they can impact every single other kid in the whole school.
What's one of the most powerful transformations you've witnessed?
Gosh, I've seen women who, when they walk into a program, they look like they're 70 years old, hunched over, don't want to, they're looking straight down at the ground. By the end of it, they're standing up straight and they look 30 years younger. Eyes bright, like ready to take on the world and express themselves and everything. And that's, an easily explainable response. Other transformations, I mean, gosh, just people who are drifting along through life, taking what comes and hoping for the best, to grabbing life by the horns and saying, this is what I declare for myself. And we always use the example of the Declaration of Independence. Were we independent?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We weren't. We made a declaration about it and then followed through on it.
Right.
So people are, like you were just describing with kids, they're afraid to declare anything because they interpret that if I want anything, I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to told I'm not good enough.
Right.
We don't have enough money for you to do that. I can't buy you the shoes for football or whatever.
I haven't seen anyone like me doing that, so how can I do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm thinking that if we had met, let's say, 10 years ago in New York, right? Because that's where you were, right?
Sure.
But let's say I was doing a podcast, because the podcast is only like 2 years old. But let's say I was doing a podcast back then and I met you. I would probably have said, hey, Jamie, what you're doing with yoga is amazing. I love how passionate you are about it and how you've built up the success. Come be on my podcast. Let's talk about that,
Sure.
right? And what's interesting that when you talked about how you had all that success and then the universe kind of shifted when you got down here and said, that's not what I want for you anymore, and you had to kind of give into that. So, because I'm trying to present the message and promote the message that people need to follow what they're passionate about, follow their dreams. For you, what was it that made you finally decide when that moment where you decided to no longer pursue being a yogi in that same way? How did you know that you were making the right decision versus, for lack of a better way to put it, giving up? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, a few things. The easiest one to see is nobody gets wealthy teaching yoga. You might have one or two guys who do, but then the power seems to get to their head and they ruin it. You might have heard about, but anyway, not important. And that's not the reason, but that's an interesting addition to the reason. I've been desperate to bring this work into schools for years, and I didn't know how. I didn't know the structure. I didn't understand who I would need to talk to. I was doing it through yoga, or I was delivering the message of be your passion. If you're willing to pose like a dog, like downward dog, but you're not willing to bark and howl like one,
right.
Where does your stretch stop? Are you only willing to stretch your hamstrings and not your ego or your comfort zone? Are you making up that there's something embarrassing about?
Are you too worried about what people around you are thinking?
Exactly.
If you wore the right pants or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to do that. I worked for Equinox, corporate style gym, and the people there love the status quo. So they don't want to shake things up too much. They just want to work out. Right. And then I was an adjunct professor at Manhattanville College. Solid school, good gig for a yoga teacher. Pretty good pay. And I started bringing in this like transformational distinction work, and it rocked the kids' worlds. It was amazing.
Wow.
And it totally ruffled the feathers of the department
Of course it did.
that I was in, because they're like, aren't you supposed to be teaching yoga? I'm like,
not
this is yoga.
You're no longer completely in the lane that they're prescribing for you. Right.
And how perfect for a university to feel that way.
Yeah.
It's like, let's not give our kids anything outside of the box.
Right.
We wouldn't want to do that.
Dare teach them an imagination or anything creativity.
Exactly.
Because so when I was asking you that question, because something I've learned, and I'm still learning, and part of my conversations part of that learning process is the conversations like this that I'm having. You can be extraordinarily passionate, let's say about baseball, right? Extremely passionate about baseball. I mean, you work your knuckles to the bone every day, and that's what you want to do, and you're really successful at it, college level, doing great. Then the universe steps in and something happens, right? And you might think, or you're just not getting drafted or something like that. And the question is, if you stop going after this baseball dream, is it that you're giving up, or is it that you're refocused? And what I think is important for me to interject with this conversation with you, for my listeners, is sometimes it's not about the baseball. Sometimes it's about a bigger picture and more underlying thing. That is what you're really passionate about. So you need to really look deep and focus in on that. So for you,
that's where this conversation comes full circle.
Yeah.
So, cancer is not a disease, it's an adaptation. When we're surrounded by inauthenticity, lack of love, on top of toxic food, toxic water, toxic relationships, people get sick, and they're not because the outside influences, but because the inside would rather perish than continue on doing what it's doing. So why am I choosing this, I'll call it game, of My Life, My Power, over or instead of being a yoga teacher? It's because I want to transform the world.
Right.
So that people don't get sick because they've been holding in their authenticity.
It is toxic.
All these years.
Yeah, it is. And high five on that, because that's exactly what Kismet. But not to divide, to bring together.
Yes.
Because, so for example, with this podcast, I don't know how long this is going to last. Am I loving it? Is this a dream come true? Absolutely. First of all, it's a dream of my own creation, which goes back to a lot of, what you were talking about earlier. But I don't know how long this is going to last. And at some point, there may be a brick wall in my way. But I'm hoping that I don't focus on that brick wall as an endpoint, but as an opportunity and invitation to re-evolve my dream and refocus it. Because in the end, the bottom line is the message that I want people to hear and the influence I want to have. And so maybe at some point the podcast isn't the thing that does it anymore. And I feel like for you, maybe at some point the yoga wasn't the thing that was going to be doing it anymore.
It's not a big enough avenue.
And now this is, I feel like, exactly. I feel like
it was narrow.
Yeah.
And narrow in its delivery. The teachers that I know are brilliant people, and I ask myself, and I wonder with them, and I haven't had that many conversations with yoga teachers lately because I'm not really playing in that world right now. But like, a lot of them do Dharma talks, right?
What's that?
Like talking about your path.
Okay.
But not very many of them facilitate their students sharing or connecting. I spoke with a guy who runs a yoga talent agency. He was describing...
There's a yoga talent agency?
Yeah, I'll tell you more about that later, but yeah, it is kind of funny.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. Gary, I love you if you're going to listen to this. And he was describing this wonderful class that he goes to on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he leaves there feeling charged and peaceful and all this. I'm like, yeah, I love that, and I kind of miss it because I don't go to that many classes anymore. And I said, how long have you been going? He said, several months, whatever he said. And I said, okay, so have you connected with any of those students? Not one. He can't name one other person in the class.
Yeah.
And it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Because yoga has become, and it's not necessarily this at its root essence, but it's become this wealthy persons, mostly women, but men too, people who have plenty of free time and money on their hands,
right,
to go and look inside of themselves, which I think is amazing. I do it, and that's how you met me. And I think because it's so physically oriented most of the time, it's a way to avoid connection, authentic connection, intimate connection with the people around you.
Right.
Like, I come from New York. I would go to classes. There's 8 million people in the city. There's 50 people in class. I'd go several weeks in a row.
Right.
I'd maybe meet 1 or 2 people.
Right.
Everyone's there. They're doing their thing, and they're out.
Right.
And there's no judgment
though.
there. It is
so typical.
It is.
Of
I think it's great. It's great. I love that people are doing something for themselves and creating peace within themselves.
Yeah.
We get to create peace within relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not taught through yoga, but it's not the main focus.
Yeah, it's like, I'm thinking, if you love to go to your favorite coffee shop every day, but all you do is sit with your nose in a book and you're drinking your coffee, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity of the other fleshy bodies that are there who can really touch your life. And I'm not saying, be a bee and go buzzing into everybody, but, sometimes look up. I think we get too focused on our cell phones and we don't look around at the world anymore. There are times where I wonder, can you even describe the house that's right next door to you? Because you probably can't, because
I lived in one apartment for 7 years.
Yeah.
A 6-story building.
Yeah.
I can't name one of my neighbors.
I'm seeing that as a major trend, a major shift I've noticed in our society. Like, I remember I used to live in Virginia for a little while. And every time someone new would move into the building, I'd knock on the door, hey, you need help moving in? Or, if you ever need to borrow anything, and introduce myself. And I'm guilty of it because as I've gotten older or as time has progressed, I've kind of gotten into my own little universe, and sometimes those blinders are on and, I'm knocking on fewer doors. So yeah.
It's very simple,
yeah,
but it's not easy.
Yeah, you're right.
It's very simple to
You're
connect
right.
with someone, even if you don't ever plan to see them again.
Right.
You know,
You're
to
right.
let someone know, hey, you look nice.
Yeah.
Or, you know, cool looking hat.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That it's like putting a coin in their confidence bank.
Yeah, absolutely. They
You
get a
know?
pep in their step. It's so true, and it's so easy, and it's free, and you just change that person's day. That person will probably go home and say, "Oh my gosh, someone complimented me on whatever," you know.
So something I've been noticing, and I'm starting to really notice it within my own language, is how much easier it is typically for people to be sarcastic. So in other words, letting people know that they're paying attention by saying the opposite of what they mean. Right?
Like, give me an example.
Okay. Gosh. If it's hard to think of like
Yeah.
a individual, like if I said something to you, but just if you look at the like television or radio, music, whatever, and the humor that engages Americans for the most part is dry, sarcastic, undermining
Gotcha.
personal
Okay.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, how does someone like Charlie Sheen become as popular as he is? And I find him funny.
Right,
you know, I don't
right.
even have a problem with the drugs and the girls and whatever. At least he's honest about it. You know, all the rest of them are doing it too. You know, they're just hiding it. But the truth is, we idolize someone like that who is sarcastically giving us all the finger. Like, fuck all you, look at my life, I do whatever I want, and I don't give a shit about anybody, and we think it's funny. And we laugh at it, and we engage with it, and we talk about it as if as if it matters.
And then every once in a while we peel it back. Every once in a while we'll peel it back and we'll think, that's kind of sad, or that's kind of...
How does Donald Trump get to where he
Oh
is?
God, I can't even.
Well, we can, because here's the thing. You and I created him. And if we're willing to take that accountability and look at where am I being Trumpish in my life, where am I dismissing people, where am I writing people off, where am I categorizing people as other?
Right.
Because collectively we have created this thing and put him at the top.
Right.
Or near the
we're
top.
the ocean waves. He's the one that's representing us as the buoy. Yeah. No, you're right.
So where am I allowing my ego to dominate my higher self?
Yeah. It's funny because something that I noticed I was doing, because I went through a lot of painful situations in like mid-20s, early 30s, that caused me to shut down and close off in a lot of ways. And I noticed that came to my own attention a couple of years ago. And I'm like, I don't want to be, I used to be so gregarious and so social and so like, to the point where people were like, are you on drugs? Like, you're just like too happy all the time. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, no, not drugs. And so, you know, I noticed like, why have I let all of this stuff influence me and make me into this other person? And it's still a process to bring my true self back out. But honestly, there are a lot of reasons why I started this podcast, but one of them is to force myself to have conversations, to approach people. Because just like you were saying, you can be somewhere and it's a lot easier to just be focused on what's right in front of your face and not talk to anybody. But me, I'm like, I need a podcast guest. Hey, you're great. I see you over there. You know, you're a mime on the street. Let's talk. Like, who are... Well, maybe not a mime. Maybe you wouldn't say anything back, but you get the point.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be in a crowd of people and noticing someone sketching. Oh, you're an artist, you know. So it's allowed myself to...
I can totally relate.
Open that up.
Between playing music and being a mentor to kids. And, like, there are definitely times where I'd rather shut down.
Yeah.
I'd rather close off. I'd rather be alone.
Yeah.
And I don't get a lot of alone time now that I have a baby and a partner and a dog and a business, and I'm like, it's very rare that I'm just by myself.
Yeah.
And what having gigs does is it forces me to be social and out and on stage. And it's paradoxical in a certain sense where I am desiring to be alone and put in a totally public space. Like today, actually, I performed, if you want to call it a performance, at a memorial service.
Okay.
And when I woke up this morning, I didn't really have to work today. I felt like, man, I don't want to go do this. I'm like begrudgingly putting my guitar in the case and like dragging myself out. And by the time I got there, I was like, man, what a fucking honor to be asked to play at someone's memorial service. And I just brightened up, and I opened up, and I connected with everyone there, and I played well.
Good for you.
And it's so life affirming, because our hobbies are our path to our higher expression, right? And without them, there are just going to be times I would just throw time away. And what do we have other than time? We don't really have anything if we don't really use the time that we have here. People forget that being alive is the opposite of being dead.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, death, I don't know what happens after. I wear a little Buddha thing here, but
I noticed.
I don't know what it all means, or if I have any one singular belief about it. But people are alive and they act like they're dead.
But regardless of what you believe, once you're dead, there's a finality to what's going on when you're alive.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of what happens. So it's really when I see there are times when you're in your room, not you, me, when I'm in my room and I'm maybe not really doing much, and I'm just sitting there maybe watching TV, and it's like the 4th hour, and I'm and that's fine every once in a while, but there are times when I kind of yell at myself, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, there's a lot more I should be doing, maybe playing with my kid or reaching out to someone, whatever it is. So yeah, absolutely. But I think it was a natural segue into your music. Sure. I noticed the beautiful guitar you have here. You have a little friend crawling on it. Let me get that for you. Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Not gonna bug me. Get it?
Not gonna bug you. So
he's carrying something. Look at that.
Is he?
It's amazing.
Is that an ant, or is that
I think it's like a tiny caterpillar.
Oh wait.
I don't really know.
It's like
he's got something on his back.
Ah.
Okay.
He's working hard. There you go. So so tell me about your music and how this all how does it all envelop with your music?
I've had a lot of musical influence throughout my life. My father used to, and now currently does, again, play guitar and sing. Raised me up on the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers, and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and all that.
Kudos to Dad.
Yep. My grandmother, his mother, is and was a jazz vocalist. Beautiful voice still. Like, she's almost 90 years old and she still can sing with the best of them.
Oh my gosh.
My great grandmother on my mother's side was a professional organist. She was a USO performer, and she was the life of the party right until the day she died at 96 years old. She was still playing dinner parties and things.
Good for her.
So amazing. So there's a lot of music in my blood.
Yeah.
And I first picked up a saxophone, I guess, in 3rd grade, and I played for several years.
3rd grade? Was it as big as you?
It was an alto, so it wasn't that big. It wasn't like a tenor or a baritone where I could hardly hold it.
I'm immediately picturing Lisa Simpson.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's huge.
Well, that's when they start you on an instrument,
I guess so, yeah.
Wait, is it 3rd grade recorder and then 5th grade saxophone? I can't remember. Whatever it was. But by the time I was in 6th grade, I started getting interested in guitar. And I had, the beginner electric set, and I just, make noise with it as much as I could.
Right.
My friends in the basement, and just like turn the amp as loud as it would go, and it sounded a little bit like Jimi Hendrix to my ears.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
Better than. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
A little bit like.
But I took it like I knew from the start that I wanted to be that good. I wanted to be Jimmy Page or Jimi Hendrix or Duane Allman, and I every day after school I'd go home, put my headphones on, and just try to play along. And I was awful. But I didn't care because I was like, I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell do those guys' fingers move so fast? They practice. My dad used to say, you got to sleep with your instrument. So I'd lay back in bed and be playing, and I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up with the guitar in the morning.
That's so funny.
And I'm still not there yet. But played throughout high school.
It's a good thing your young brain didn't interpret sleep with in a different way.
Exactly. Well, how do you know? Yeah. Played throughout high school, was in a great band in high school, and then college as well. I started really diving into jazz in college. I played in the big band, which was a thrill.
Did you ever play while your great-grandma sang?
No.
No.
No. We would play the organ together.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think I ever had like a proper jam session.
Yeah.
But
Jam
it's
session.
all right. I have with my grandmother on my dad's
Nice.
side, definitely. So dove into jazz in college, and that was a thrill. I played in a big band and in a small group.
Wow.
For several years. I made a lot of friends that way, and that's, I think, maybe the most rewarding part about being a musician is I can have conversations with some of my best friends without saying any words. You know, we just communicate through this ancient art.
Absolutely.
And then since college, I used to manage a band called The Breaks, and I learned a lot about songwriting from them. Really top level songwriters. Some of those guys are on tour with some of the best musicians in the world right now.
Awesome.
And so my writing, you know, started with some love songs and things like that, and then started evolving into more socially conscious type stuff. My process for writing is kind of all over the place. Sometimes I'll write lyrics and I won't look at them for 3 years, and then I'll think of a melody, and then, oh yeah, I remember that poem I wrote years ago.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a
It just
song.
works.
And then sometimes it's like someone will say something, I'm like, all right, let's go. And 10 minutes later it's a song. So it's there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It just it comes out the way it comes out, and I love bringing in all sorts of influences. Let's say this. I love pop music. I love country, rock, blues, jazz, funk, soul, R&B, rap. There's no boundary to the style, as long as it's played with some heart and soul. And I really allow the comfort zone to be broken when I write. But recently I've taken to writing really simple songs because there's a beauty in the simplicity where you can allow the audience to feel like they already know the words, even though they've never heard the song before.
So often do you have a gig?
I gig probably 2 or 3 times a month.
Okay.
In different settings. I play bass with like a hip hop reggae kind of band.
Nice.
And then I'll play acoustic guitar with a vocalist. I don't really get to play my original music that often. It's hard to find guys who want to learn.
Right.
It's hard to find guys who have the time. If they're professional musicians, they're usually overbooked because they don't get paid enough money, so they're trying to work
running
6
around,
bands, and it's like, okay, come and learn these songs that are going to take a couple of weeks or months to learn. It's like, well, getting one rehearsal on the schedule is, you know, and plus my life is all over the place too. So this is actually a great forum for playing my original songs because
I would love to hear one.
Yeah, okay.
Can you please?
Yeah, this is one of the newest songs that I've written. It's actually technically 2 songs. It's a little introduction. It's called Zipporah's Theme. Zipporah is my daughter.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a little chord progression that I thought of in the days leading right up to and during labor. And it was just what was coming through me. I didn't really know why or how, but I went with it. And
I'm so excited to hear it.
And then the main song is called The Ballad of Mickey Truth, and it's just like our conversation. It's kind of calling for people to own their darkness and own their fear and own their vision, and be real with one another. Not like, yo, be 100 with me, but like stop being afraid to get dirty. You know, get your hands dirty so you can clear the mess and the impact that could have worldwide. So,
Yeah. Let me cough real quick and get that. All right, proceed. from over there too. Heck yeah, that was awesome.
I'm glad you can hear it. It means the guitar sounds good.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you for that.
Sure.
That was amazing. That was amazing. So, as we kind of are wrapping up the podcast, where can people get in touch with you if they want to come see a gig or find out about My Life, My Power? How can they?
Well, there's mylifemypower.org, and my email address is JH, my initials, JH, at mylifemypower.org. Please feel free to reach out to me. I don't think I have a scheduled gig, but the gigs kind of come up like, hey, you want a gig tomorrow night kind of thing. So if you reach out to me, I'll be happy to keep you abreast of that.
Awesome.
And the website that you mentioned earlier is jamiescottyoga.com, Jamie, scottyoga.com, and that has some links to some fun stuff I've done in the past through the yoga world.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
You've been phenomenal. I mean, I think a lot of what you say, a lot of what you shared has helped kind of encapsulate a little bit of what I'm trying to put out there. And so thank you for helping me verbalize it even better. Yeah, you're fantastic. What would you say has been your biggest aha moment? Let's close with an aha moment.
Shift from me to we.
Shift from me to we. Very nice.
And this, I'm stealing this directly from Daniel Pewter. Success is nice, but if you focus on significance, success is an easy byproduct. When I create possibilities in other people's lives, they make my life really easy. All the resources I could ever need show up. For example, we have not paid for any of the furniture in our house.
Nice, yeah.
All of our stuff has been provided by friends
Right.
and family who have extra stuff,
Right.
who don't need, they're moving, whatever.
Right.
Do you need this?
Right.
We do need that. Thank you.
Right. No, I can testify to that too, for sure, in my life. So
I got one more song that speaks into all this
I was going to
stuff,
ask
too.
you to go close with a song.
But
before you do, can I ask you to let's do a sign off now, and then you can close with the song. How's
Awesome,
that?
sure.
So the sign off is really easy. It just say, do you go by Jamie Scott Harris? Jamie Harris? What do you?
Jamie Scott, why not?
Jamie Scott. Okay. And
Jamie
say
Scott Harris, sure.
Jamie Scott Harris.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, this is Jamie Scott Harris with Curve the Cube.
Hey, this is Jamie Scott Harris with Curve the Cube.
Woohoo! Okay, let's sing us out. This is great. I'm
this
excited.
one's called Do Whatever It Takes. It's time to find a better way to live our lives and celebrate. I'm gonna rally up my family with my doggy and my granny. Gonna go down to the town hall rally. Gonna get them wise men elected. Do whatever it takes. We gonna build up our farms and churches to feed the people fresh food and virtues. We're gonna beckon to the spirits, gonna pray until we feel it, gonna lay the law down in a peaceful spirit, gonna rise up, come on baby, do whatever it takes. 'Cause it's your life and it's your power. You gotta make hay while the sun shines, you make love and then you take a shower. You got a purpose, this is your chance. You gotta tell the devil to take a walk when she asks you to dance. And I know that it'll be perfect to respect love as if we've earned it. Because a million years go by in the blink of an eye. Don't you think twice when the government is run by
love somebody, whatever it takes. Oh yeah, it's time to rise up and love somebody, whatever it takes. Oh, it's time to rise up and love somebody, whatever it takes.
I loved it. I loved it. High five. Woo! Good job. That was great.
You have successfully curved the cube.